Hello, I'm Demis Helen, and welcome to the Obsession Workshop series where we take a deep dive into all the features of Obsession. Starting in this episode, we're going to make the elements of a track, but along the way we're going to learn all the features that you need to know to build your own sound design and get your tracks sounding awesome using Obsession. And to kickstart things, let's have a listen to the track that we're going to build towards the end of all of these episodes, and we're going to build each one per episode, and you can see everything here is created in Obsession. So let's have a listen from here so you can get an idea of what this track sounds like. And there we have it, that is the track in its entirety. We're going to recreate the lead now in Obsession, and I've got a new initialized patch. So if you want to follow along, this is the moment to reset your Obsession instance and you can follow along. Otherwise, you can download the preset in the description. So let's start with the oscillators. Oscillator 1 and 2, we're going to use both, and they're both on saws, which are default. We're just going to turn oscillator 2 up to plus 24, so it is 2 octaves up from its original position, and leave the first oscillator at 0. And that should leave us with this sound. And then on the filters, we're actually going to turn off oscillator 2 and then turn it on, so we've got like this half depression, so the light's not fully on, and it just gives it a bit of a lower level to start with. So with the filter, I want to turn the filter down to 0, so we're going to get the sort of total cutoff for when we apply the shaping using this envelope. I'm going to bring the envelope down to around 2 or 3 to start with. And as you know, you can't hear anything happen until we drop the sustain on our envelope for the filter. I'm going to bring this up. So I'm just going to shape up this envelope now. So let's bring up the attack. So that's sounding okay. I wanted it a little bit softer on the front, so we're just getting that sort of nice mellow feel to it, instead of like a hard transient attack. And then I'm going to roughly do the same for the loudness, so the amp envelope as well. So we're going to have something similar. So I'm just balancing out the release, so we just get a little bit of tail, but not too much that we're getting a click. So that's the basic building blocks of the sound done. Everything that we need to know is done in this section. We've got a little bit of LFO work to do and then some effects, but we're going to jump on to the other side for now, and we're going to set up a couple of things. So starting with velocity, which is already here, I'm just going to turn this up to about 70 or something like that. So we're getting some velocity feedback when we're hitting keys softer and lighter. And aftertouch, we're not going to use that in this episode, so I'm just going to remove that so it makes it easier for you to see. And what we're going to start with is the mod wheel and the cutoff. So I'm going to assign the mod wheel to the cutoff filter, and then I'm going to bring this up. So I'm going to open up my mod wheel on the keyboard so I can hear exactly what is happening when I adjust this slider or this dial. So about plus 38 sounds okay. Then we can close that. So that just gives us some control when we're editing the rest of the patch. We can get some context straight away with the filter open and closed. Now we want to start adding the refinements to the presets. So we're going to start using some LFOs, and I'm going to attach LFO 1 and then the next lane LFO 2, so the setup ready to go. LFO 1 is going to control the cutoff position, so we're going to get a little bit more of an organic feel to that, and it's just going to sort of meander a little bit as it's playing. And LFO 2 is actually going to control the fine pitch. Now you might be wondering, why would I use that when I could just use the organic here? And that is very true, but we're going to use that as well. I just want to add a little bit more realism to it and just a little bit more movement. That is obvious. So let's add in our LFOs. So to start with, we're going to leave it on sine, and I'm going to bring the first one down to a lot slower rate with that. So let's just overemphasize this so you can hear exactly what's happening. So that's fine, but we want to just minutely change that up. So I'm going to bring it back down to 1, or 0, should we say. So with that, you might not be able to hear it moving too much once I've dialed it in gently, but it is just meandering that cutoff point a little bit. We're going to do the same with LFO 2. I'm just going to push this up a little bit, say +3. And I think with this, we can just go to LFO 2, just push it a little bit harder. So just getting a little bit of sort of vibrato on that fine pitch there. So that is all good, and that is going to start sounding like this. So I'm going to take the time to add some of the organic in here, so we're just getting that nice sort of emulation of the drift. I'm probably just going to dial in around 2. And a little bit of the VCA saturation on there as well, just to really sort of pull it out of the depths. So now it's a little bit too loud on the second one. So the one there, we've got 2 octaves higher on the second oscillator. So if you notice, there's no volume controls there, but we can control it via a constant value here. So if we choose constant as our source, then as a destination, we can go down to oscillator to volume, and we can control the level. So we can boost it, or we can totally remove it. So let's just turn off oscillator 1 so you can hear exactly what's happening. You can hear it sounds a lot more authentic that way and just takes that edge off the top end. And obviously, bearing in mind, we have no effects on this yet. So there's just one more thing that I want to do. When we open up that mod wheel, it's a little bit soft. I like it soft when the filter is closed. So just listen again. But you can see as it's opening, it's still quite soft and it just sounds a little bit jarring at times. So we're going to make a micro adjustment here. I'm going to use the mod wheel to control the amp attack. So if we go down to amp attack here, and what we're going to do is automate this amp attack to come down a little bit, so then it's a little bit sharper. So let's just listen to the effects of this. If we just turn this all the way down and watch that automation. You can hear it's really sharp now, so that's too much. So as you could hear, when the mod wheel is open, it gets a little bit sharper, and it works really nice when we add that sort of like base support layer in the bottom as well, and just gives it a little bit more definition when the mod wheel is open. So all that we have left to do is add in the effects. So clicking the effects here so they're activated, jump around the back, and I'm going to turn off the dry wet for now so we can't hear those two, and we'll just work systematically across. So I'm going to add some extra reverb time, closer to 7 seconds. Open up the colour. And I'm just going to turn that colour up a little bit more. So about 4 is going to sound nice. So do this to taste, but that's where I think it sounds nice. And we're going to use the shimmer reverb, so we're going to add some sparkly goodness in the background. So I'm going to turn the regen to 2 and then adjust the shimmer. And you can hear that adds a really nice texture into the background and gives you that illusion that there's more layers than what there really is in our track. So next is the delay. I'm going to turn on double X, and let's bring this up to about 4. I'm going to roll the lows out. And then some chorus. So there we are, that is our completed preset Rotterdam, which is one of our synth presets for the track. All I did in there with the delay is just turn up the mix, remove some of the lows so it doesn't get too muddy, use the 8th notes and increase that feedback a little bit. And then the same here, remove some of the lows out of the chorus and then just bring it up to taste on its initialized setting. So there we are, that brings us to the end of this episode. Hopefully you learned some new tips and tricks for Obsession so you can create some interesting lead designs. And if you want this preset, you can grab it in the description from the website. And with that said, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. I've been Demis Helen, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. Take care.